All right, we're back here at the Real Deal Forum, and I'm joined by three incredible podcasters and short form creators. I have Dylan Pachullik and Daniella Schlisser and Ari Meridy. Each one of them at Brown Harris Stevens on the More Network produce some form of content. But the difference is that each one of them are incredibly busy professionals. This sort of circle conversation right now is going to center around why would someone that is incredibly busy in their day, in their career, every moment counts, why would you consider short form? Why would you consider podcasting? I want to get our answers, and we'll maybe riff off of them. We'll start with you, Dylan. Why did you come to us? Why did you see a value in this long-form podcasting?
Look, I think the long-form podcast adds a lot of value to the community. Specifically, I'm a property manager, and you guys might not know this, but property management's not the most glamorous profession in real estate. But for me, I love to educate the community, and I love specifically the brokerage community, and talk to them about topics nobody else is going to speak about. No one wants to talk about duty to mitigate damages or how to service your elevator, but it's all relevant and pertinent information that owners need, that brokers need. I mean, it gives me a platform to speak about what nobody else talks about. And look, from a point of view of gaining exposure, showing that you're an expert in your field, I think a podcast is a huge platform to demonstrate that.
And Daniella, you are a top 5 agent in this company, one of the top agents in this country. Why would you delve into, and it's actually a very unique topic of Rise and Thrive. It's centered around sort of empowering over adversity. And like, why put that hours of your week toward that?
Well, it's really twofold. On the one hand, I believe in getting off the hamster wheel every now and then. Yes, we can all start with the emails and the iPhone and at the minute we open our eyes at 7 a.m. and we can go through and power through it until we get back home and then keep doing it from the laptop. And we could always have something to do in there. There's always another search. There's always another, there's always another marketing piece that we could be developing. But I think it's really important for our own humanity, or at least mine, to get off that in somewhat of a structured way, whether it's the daily workout or the regular podcast, to know that there's something that I'm doing that isn't only that. It starts to feel, at least for me, it starts to feel a little mercenary if all I'm doing is just that. And then at the same time, in finding something to do to take myself off the hamster wheel a little bit, this was always, talking about overcoming adversity is something I've enjoyed doing, because I had a lot, I had stuff happen that was, not easy, and it took gumption, and it took optimism, and it took, living among friends and community that was supportive to get myself over that. And I think that there's a lot to share in that. So when they were kind of two really profound interests that collided: the desire to share that and go there with other people and with new people again and again, and different kinds of reinvention and overcoming adversity, and also to be doing something regularly that felt like it wasn't just this, and was also satisfying interpersonally.
Ari, you and Matt, now you're entering your 3rd season. You were the first.
Yeah.
Let's not count Vince, because Vince was doing it for 8.5 years.
That's true. He's the OG.
He's OG. But you were the first within Brown Harris Stevens to create an original series at our company.
Yeah.
So there was no map on how to do this.
Yeah.
But now you're entering your 3rd season. You're getting 6 figures of views on social media. Like, why continue? Why keep doing this?
I think it's fun. I think, as Daniella aptly put, we got to figure out a way to sort of get off that hamster wheel and just find ways to get us further excited about the work that we do every day, and bring some levity and bring some comedy and have fun while we do it. I think it's so important, because it can get a little monotonous in what we do, and dealing with the negotiations or a tough seller or whatever it is. So you're trying to just have insert some fun, and that's what we're doing on the 13th floor. I mean, we're having a lot of fun doing it.
We're having fun watching it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think the interesting also concept would be like, all right, there are several reasons why one would do this. It would be, building a brand. it would be, lead generation, which is its own side of the coin. Is there a benchmark for you for success? Do you look at the total number of views? Do you look at the total number of your sphere of influence that reaches out to you and says, I saw, I heard, I looked, I watched? Like, what is your gauge for success?
Could I actually take this one to start?
Let's start
I think,
with you.
and I would love to hear your thoughts on this too. But the one thing that I love about what I've been building with the 13th floor with Matt is it sort of gives the ability to have the viewer become familiar with you from the beginning without having formally meeting you yet. So it gives you that opportunity to show them who you are and convey who you are as a professional, so to see the behind the scene before you actually meet them. So to measure that when someone comments or they really enjoy it, or you say, come up to me and say, hey, I recognize you from the 13th floor. Like, that's amazing. Like, I didn't think that would be a thing for someone to recognize it, but you can sort of feel that there's a familiarity and a comfort there just by them viewing and tuning in.
There were several people that we were out here before that said, "Oh, you're the guy from the 13th floor."
I know, it's crazy.
It's insane.
Wild. It's like, what? Yeah,
You're a celebrity.
I love that for you.
I mean, I guess I do too, but like it's crazy to me. Yeah.
What is your gauge for success, Daniella and Dylan?
I will say I did. One of my podcasts was Doug interviewing me, as opposed to me interviewing other people, which the rest of them aren't. And so it went kind of deep into my own stuff. And I can't tell you how many people called and wrote to me afterwards saying that it gave them so much and it moved them. And this one woman, a friend of mine said, I sent it to my friend who's going through a tough time, and would you mind calling her? So then I called the woman and we had a conversation. Like, that is really satisfying.
So like authentic connections with your
and a little bit of, giving
the paying it
something.
forward, the greater good.
Yeah.
The most success for me is if I get at least one email from a viewer that learned something from my episode. And when I started my career in real estate, I was actually at NYU, and I became a broker, and I taught all my classmates how to rent apartments in New York City. And I gave lectures at all the dorms on how to do it, and that kind of, put me up in that's kind of how I started my real estate career, by educating people on the process. And then because I was the expert, they would use me. And I take the same approach to managing Manhattan, because I go on, I demonstrate that we know what we're talking about in the property management space. And so success is letting people, A, learn something, but B, understand that we are experts in what we do. And in return, they want to patronize our business, because I say those people know what they're talking about. I want to work with them. And the podcast gives us the opportunity to display that.
So this is an audio and a video podcast, and obviously only video for you on your social series. Do you find that being in front of a camera has maybe helped you in front of audiences or in front of negotiations, conversations with clients, like maybe even building confidence? I mean, is it like I already had it, like I don't need it? Like,
personally, I think it's the other way around. I think the podcast has been easy and was right away easy. I mean, it's time consuming and it's certainly effort, but there was an ease to doing it because there was already a comfort with speaking publicly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're all in the real estate industry. I think, not everyone is super social, but there's a huge social element to it. So I think it naturally fits in us being able to, be the expert, talk about our personal experience, share what we know about the market. And I think it really lends itself well in that way. So.
It also gives you practice, because now you have our episodes, we like to do them under 30 minutes, and it helps you perfect your craft, because you're analyzing yourself while you're watching the episode of like, how am I articulating this? Am I speaking right about the subject matter? How do I look? How am I presenting in a way that you're not really as cognizant of that in the day-to-day, but you're forced to sit there and watch yourself for 30 minutes, and it helps you better sell your product, better articulate your ideas to a wider audience.
I have heard that from multiple podcasters. They would say that my episode prepared me for conversations with my clients.
I totally
like I was more educated because I had the plan and I had the prep and I had the research and those answers that I gathered from planning my podcast or hearing the responses from my experts on the podcast. has exponentially helped when they're in front of people. And it's no longer, let me get back to you. It's, I got the answer right now.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So that's another huge advantage that I've personally seen from a lot of the podcasters in their growth. Let me end on this today. I think, we had a great successful event. Again, 12 podcasts that were filmed in under 7 hours on stage. It was incredible.
That is a crazy feat.
It was. I know that the staff is probably ready to give up at this point, but I want to hear one question. I want to see what is next for you, each of you, inside of the content creation space. Something that you would love to potentially challenge yourself in. Maybe it's a guest that you would love to have. Maybe it's a topic. Maybe it's something you would do differently on your show. Maybe it's an idea that you've had in the back of your head that you would love to try at some point in the next year. Is there something? And maybe there isn't, but I wanted to throw that question to you guys because you guys are incredibly creative, very charismatic on camera. I'd love to hear your answers.
I mean, not to be too on the nose, but I think it's just more, where we do more stuff in quantity, and it doesn't always have to be perfect, but it's just putting more out there. I mean, there's just so much content being consumed by everyone online or perpetually on their phone, etc. It's just, you got to just put more out there. And even if it's not tailored and perfect, exactly this and that, it's just, getting out of your comfort zone, getting on the street, meeting more people, and just showing who you are. And again, creating that familiarity for someone, trying to figure out which broker they're going to select, when they're selling or buying a home.
What's next?
Look, for me, I think it helps me generate content for greater marketing purposes for my company because I'm forced to think about topics, and it makes me want to find better topics that people want to hear about, bring bigger guests on. Now I have a platform of, we're getting 10,000 views on an episode. That's value to bigger people who I want to bring on the show. And, most importantly, it helps me generate marketing content for my business as a whole and not just a podcast, which is invaluable. You're forced to think about it on a monthly basis of like, okay, what are we talking about this month? What's going on out there? What do people need to know? And I think for a broker or for another company, that's valuable time that we're forced to prepare about what the next hot thing is and what we need to be saying about it.
And I think about guests that I'd want to have because the spaces, the podcasts of mine that have done the best, like the one where Doug interviewed me, not because I'm so riveting, but that one was like a 6-figure watch.
Yeah.
And that was the only one that was a 6-figure watch. The other ones are great, but they made me realize that there are so many people who really like to hear about overcoming adversity and can relate to it and extract things from it. And that it's a space that is certainly not untapped globally, but maybe with our viewership it is. So
I remember your episode with the producer of the Jennifer Hudson show.
Yeah, Andy Lassner. That was great. That did great too. Yeah.
I could not believe how far he went with some of his sort of inspirational conversations about how he overcame his addictions. And I mean, it felt like it was more than just real estate, and it was. You were reaching a grander, purpose. Yeah. And there's something strong to be said about that.
Thank you. I loved that too. That was a great talk.
It was a good one. In closing, I just want to put out that all of this content is never possible without the people behind the scenes. And for each one of you guys, often you're the faces of it.
Yeah.
And I do want to just give a shout out to Ray and Fabian and
huge shout out.
And to Ali and to the individuals
behind
that
the
are
camera.
behind the camera.
Yes.
They are the reasons why all of this moves. And we just usurped 6.5 million total podcast views, and we're only at about a year in on this.
That's so great.
And we're getting sponsorships, revenue left and right.
Oh, yeah.
The Real Deal is talking to us about how to better their podcasting. I mean, there's something to be said about, we went into this path towards, the antithesis of reality TV. Reality TV was the race to the bottom for entertainment purposes, made the real estate industry, did not look in the best light. We wanted to go higher, go for infotainment, bring out the best of what we are. We are knowledgeable, we are professional, we are experienced professionals, and we're putting that out to people. So that's why we do this, and we wouldn't be able to do it without the talent in front of the screen. So thank you, each of you.
Shout out to you for being so committed to this, for having come to us with such great ideas
100%.
and giving us such a good time doing it.
and to Lena and to Ray, who we get to interact with on our episodes. And Ray's my life coach at this point. Like, he's one that, behind the scenes piloting through us to make us better. I mean, it's an incredible people behind this.
Well, we'll leave it there. We're ending this forum. I think everyone's leaving. We're the last ones here. We're going to call it a day. Thank you guys for joining us, and wish you best in your seasons.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you.